a filter, or you have to split into two, so one file separate for male and one file separate for female. But in SPSS, there is no such thing. You can go to data, and there is the option here, option of select cases. Select cases. You see second last option, select cases. You go to select cases and use the condition that if condition is satisfied, you can move this screen from here to here, anywhere, so that you can see all the variables. But don't put your cursor here. Put your cursor at this at the top, right? And then you can move. Now you can see if I use the if condition, it says when condition will be satisfied, it will be selected. So if, let's say I want to put a condition on gender when female, and what is the code of the female? 2. So if gender, take this variable here, is equal to 2. If gender is equal to 2, gender is equal to 2 means that means I want to perform analysis on female only. Continue and press OK. And if you come back to the screen, you can see wherever there is male, it is struck off. Male is being struck off. Only female is left. Now, if you give any command, it is filtered also, that this is not selected, this is selected. If you give any command, then only female data will be analyzed, not the male data. All right. Now, suppose I want to do analysis rather than female, want to do analysis for male. Then again go to data, then go to select cases, select all the cases again, right? Press OK and come back. Now all the cases will be selected again. There is no struck off now. Then you go to data, then select cases and use the same condition again. So if gender is equal to 1, if I put gender is equal to 1, continue, press OK, and you will come back and you will see now females are struck off. Wherever there is female, it is struck off and males are selected. And if you give any command, only male data will be analyzed. Hopefully you follow this part. And let's say somebody is also saying, whenever you put any filter, initially you will see only, can you see this right screen? Arpana, can you see this here? IBM SPSS statistics process is ready.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And then there is a filter on. There is an
sir.
option which says filter on. Why this filter is on? We have because applied the filter. Earlier there was no filter actually, right? For example, if I select the entire data again, there will be no filter. This will be removed. Select cases, all the cases again, press OK, and now you can see that filter on is not there, and you can remove this column from here. It has no meaning now. So there is no filter. Now somebody may say that I want to analyze male as well as female, but separately. You know how to do it individually. I can select male, go for analysis. I can select female, go for analysis. But I want to go for the individual analysis at the same time for male and same time for female. Then obviously I cannot struck off anything. In that case, there is an option also. That option is called split file. So go to data. This is a split file option. Use the split file. It says organize output by groups. By groups means by gender. Let's say take this side. So this is splitting of file. So press OK. And if you press OK and come back to the data, and what you will see, it is written now. It's not filter. It says split by gender. Can we see this? Yes, please. Arpana, can you see split by gender on the right?
Yes, sir. It's visible. Yes.
Yeah. So now your file has been split, and now males are first. Why? Because male code is lowest, 1, and female is highest. So it will split into 2 parts actually. One is male, another is female. So if you carry out any analysis, first analysis will be done for male and second analysis will be done for female automatically, because your filter says that you have split by gender. So this is how you can split the file. Okay. So go to data again. Now I will select all the cases again and go to split file and analyze all cases again. And then this split file option will also be removed. There is no split file now. So you are back to the original data. The next problem comes that how to transform our variable, particularly in mathematics. We need to take a log or anti-log or something like that, inverse transformation, right? Or difference we need to compute. Then how to do that? That is also under transform. You go to transform, then you pick up this, the first variable, compute variable. If you compute variable, and let's say I want to compute log of the scores, then log is an arithmetic function. So all the arithmetic functions are here. So if you click on to arithmetic, so this is absolute, this is sine inverse, tangent inverse, cos, exponential, log to the base 10, and similarly others. So let's say I take log to the base 10. Then what it will do, the entire description is appearing here, that it will give you the log to the base 10 of the given number, and shift this here upside in this expression box. So shift this to this side. Now there is a question mark. It says you want to compute log of which quantity? We don't want to compute log of the categorical variable. Gender and score code, they are categorical variable. We don't want this, but we want log of this score. So I will mark this score and shift it here, log to the base 10 of scores. And now OK is not highlighted because it is asking where do you want to store. So give this, let's say log underscore score, right? Because gap is not allowed in variable. I cannot write log, then gap and score. That is not allowed in variable name. Even hyphen is not allowed. Percentage, etc. They are not allowed. But underscore is allowed, right? So press OK. And now you come back to the data and you can see log score. Log to the base 10 of 12 is 1.08 and so on. Similarly, you can apply any other transformations. All the other arithmetical transformations are given. You pick up any one. Let's say you are interested in tangent inverse of something, sine inverse or tangent or something. Every expression is given there. So you shift that expression, take your variable to that side. So entire thing will be done in just fraction of seconds. So this is how we can enter the data, how we can do different kind of labels, how we can transform variables. So basic things I have done. Now, before I move on to the analysis part, how to save this file? Suppose I created one file, how to save this file? Just like for Excel, we have the extension of XLSX. That is an extension. Similarly, for Word file, there is a doc file, right? Similarly, there is an extension for SPSS file also, and that extension is called SAV. So wherever it is written SAV, that means it is an SPSS file. So how to save this file? Go to File, go to Save As, and let's say I want to put this on desktop. Suppose this is desktop. You assign the variable name, let's say ABC. Then and press save. Then your file on the desktop will be saved with the name as abc.sav. .sav means that it is file is saved in SPSS. So it is an extension of SPSS file. OK, so this is how you can save your file. I'm not saying because why we don't require this thing. So now next problem, how to import data from some other file. Suppose I am interested to import data from some other file. Then what to do? I'm just closing this file. Just closing this file. And now suppose I want to import, say, data from Excel to SPSS. Suppose this is an Excel file or this is an Excel file. You can or this is an Excel file. Any file can be imported. How? Suppose I show you this file. This name is test1. OK. First of all, I'll show you the Excel file. So these are the variables here: mutation, age, locality, sex, religion. And you see how many observations are here? Basically, it is number is going up to 71. But basically, there are 70 observations. Why? Because your first row, your variable name. So basically, there are 70 observations. OK. And we will import this file into SPSS. This is an Excel file. Please remember, this is an Excel file. And whenever we open any Excel file, there may be different sheets. This is sheet number 1. This is sheet number 2, which is blank. Sheet number 3, which is blank. You can add additional sheets also. But please remember, SPSS will import only one sheet at a time. If you are interested into sheet 1, you need to specify that I am interested into sheet 1. Or you can specify sheet 2 or sheet 15. So particular sheet will be imported. Now, before importing this file, if you are carrying a pen or pencil, please write down 2-3 important sentences. How to import the file. Number 1. Whenever we create a file in Excel, your variable name always write down in small letters. I have not used any capital letters. Variable name should be written in small letters. Number 1. Number 2. The width of the letter or the width of any letter should not be more than 8 to 10 characters. Not more than 8 to 10 characters. If you have to write a very short name, within 8 to 10 characters. That is number 2. Number 3. No special characters are allowed in the variable name. Special character means I cannot start with percentage, age, or locality dash sex. You cannot start with that. So what are special characters? Percentage, ampersand sign, hash, dash, etc. They are not allowed in the variable name. And the last important point, variable name should not start with any numeric value. For example, if you are entering a data of 40 years of people, I can use say 40 age, but it start with variable 40 age. It start with 40. So it is not be recognized by SPSS. Of course, you can write age 40. That is okay, because first has to be character variable. You cannot start with a numeric variable. So we can write age 40, but not 40 age. So with this, with all the precautions, you save this file. It is on the desktop, and now we will import this file into SPSS. Okay, this is the file here on the desktop. I'll open SPSS again and show you how to import this file. Press cancel here and you will be at the screen. So go to file, go to open. Opens is a data file. You go to data. And in data, your file, specify the path that is on the desktop. Now that file was test1. Now it is not showing that file. Why? Because it is showing only SPSS files. It is showing only those files or folder where SPSS files are there. But our file is Excel. So change the file type. So our file type is Excel. You go to change it Excel. This is Excel. XLS or Excel or this. Okay. Now the test1. This is appearing test1. So just click, name will automatically appear here and simply press OK. And if you press OK, it will ask you one question. And here is the question. This is the question. What it says, read variable names from the first row of the data. Now what was there in the first row of the data? Mutation, age, gender, sex, etc. They were in the first row of the data. So when you import the file, names automatically will be imported. Variable name will automatically be imported, right? Of course, if there are no variable name, you can enter under A, data under A, under B, under C, under D. Even then the data will be imported. But in that case, SPSS will assign its own name, variable 401, variable 402, variable 403, etc. And if you have 15 sheets, you can move on to any sheets. But because we have only one sheet in the data, so it will pick up only the first sheet. If you have 15, you can scroll down to sheet number 15 or sheet number 10. So a particular sheet will be imported. Okay, press OK. That's it. And your entire data is imported. You can see mutation, age. It is SPSS now. Gender, sex, religion. And how many observations were there? 70. Let's check. You can see all the 70 observation has been imported into from Excel to SPSS. This is how you can import the file into from Excel to SPSS, because most of the people, they enter data in Excel and we can easily import this to SPSS. So this completes your basic training on SPSS. All right. Now we have to do some kind of analysis. And in order to perform some kind of analysis, I will open one data file, which I have created many data sets so that just to save time. And we will do some preliminary analysis like counting, frequency table, graphs, etc. before moving on to further. Okay. Let me open one of the file. Let's say I'll open this file. All files are saved in SPSS. They will open only if your SPSS is loaded on your computer. Suppose this is one of the file. You have the age data, then male and female are also there, and then age code. Age code means, let me see what is this age code. You can go back to the variable view and read the code, that 1 is for male, 2 is for female, and age has been divided into 6 different categories. That means those people who are between 10 to 19 given code as 1, 20 to 29 2, and right up to 60 to 69 of age group 6. So age has been divided into 6 group, and I have shown you how to divide into groups. That was very simple. Go to analysis, go to transport, go to recode into different variable, and let's say age has been divided into, give some name, and old value the new one. So write 10 here, 19 here, new value 1, add. The next will be 20 to 29 to add. Go on doing this, you will get this. So you will, all the codes will be here, right? This is what I did. Then, so this was our data file. All right. Now let's do some kind of preliminary analysis. How many categorical variables are here? One is gender, which is sex. Another is age code, because this is also categorical. This is 1 1 1 1 2. So you can remove decimals. We don't require decimals here. So you can also make these decimals 0 and come back to the data view. All right. Okay, let's go for counting of this. How many males, how many female, and how many people belong to different age groups. Go to analysis, go to frequencies, descriptive statistics, and there is a frequency. Go to frequency. And frequencies we generally count for categorical data. These two are categorical variable, sex and age code. So take this variable here, take this variable here. And what it says, display frequency tables. Simple. Press OK. Now it's a frequency table. 169 observation, no value is missing. And how many males are there? 91. How many females are there? 78. Total is 169. What is the percentage of male? 53.8. Percentage of females? 46.2. And similarly in each age code, 10 to 19, only 4 people. So maximum people, they belong to this age category, 20 to 29, 66. Next maximum, 30 to 39, 47 people, and so on. Now there are two values here. One is percent, another is valid percent. And you can see both of them are same. Why they are same? The reason is because if you look at missing values, there is no missing value in your data. If there would have been missing values in your, suppose 2 values are missing out of 100, then you must look for valid percentage. Then percentage, suppose there are 100 values and 2 values are missing, right? Then percentage will be computed out of 98, not out of 100. So in that case, you need to look at valid percentage if there are missing values. But if there is no missing value, then percentage and valid percentage will be same. Okay, that's why these are the columns. The next is cumulative percentage, and cumulative percentage means you add this plus this, this is the answer. You add the first 3, this is the answer. You add the first 4, this is the answer. Cumulative. With the help of cumulative, you can answer so many questions. For example, if somebody asks you that how many people in your entire data set are below or equal to the age of 49. This is 49. Upper limit is 49. So you just look at the cumulative. So you can say that almost 91%, this is almost 91% of the people are below or equal to the age of 49. If somebody asks you how many people are below the age of 39, 69.2% of the people in the entire data. And if somebody asks you what is the percentage of the people between 20 to 29, percentage of the people between 20 to 29. So between is this 20 to 29, just look at percentage. So 39.1% of the people are between 20 to 29. All right. So that is the interpretation. Okay, let's go for some other kind of analysis. This was just a simple counting. Let's compute mean, standard deviation, etc. for age also. So go to analysis, go to again descriptive, go to frequencies again. Now in SPSS, the important point is you can always recognize a variable on which type of scale it is. For example, your sex is a male and female, so it's a nominal scale. You can three circles. Three circle means they are of equal size. Equal size means equal weightage is given to male and female. So it's a nominal scale. And now you can see the lowest, then middle, then highest, and so on. So that means this is a ordinal variable. So ordinal scale. So age code, you know, 1 means the lowest and 6 means the highest. Age groups, you have divided the 8 into. So this is, you can see, recognize that this is ordinal variable, this is nominal variable. And for the last measurable quantity, interval and ratio, they are always like this. It's just like a stair because you can arrange the categories in order, but equal values for each, right? So it's just like a stair. So you can recognize that this is a scale variable. Scale covers both interval and ratio. And this is ordinal, this is nominal. Okay. Now take these two outside now and switch off this option, because for age data, age is a continuous variable. We don't want to compute a frequency table. Otherwise, it will count how many times 18 is appearing, how many times 22 is appearing. That has no meaning. Now take this age on this side and it says, what do you want to do? Statistics. So suppose I want to compute mean age, median age, mod, quartiles, even different percentiles can be computed. Let's say percentile, 23rd percentile of the data, say 77th percentile of the data, 95th percentile of the data, then standard deviation, variance, minimum value, maximum value, range, skewness, kurtosis. Okay. So all these values immediately it will give you, and you press continue, press OK, and immediately you will get the answer. So press OK. Within fraction of seconds, you are getting the answer actually. Here is the answer. It says there are 169 observation. No value is missing. Now what is the mean age? 34.30. What is the median? 31. Mod 26. Standard deviation 10.328. If you scale the standard deviation, it will give you variance. Now you can see skewness. This is the value of beta 1. I told you what is beta 1, right? So it says beta 1 is 0.698. So it is positive. So that means, but it is not far away from 0. If this would have been 0, the data would have been symmetrical. But it says 0.69. 0.69 means that it is positive. So you can say your data is slightly positively skewed. Right? Now look at kurtosis. Kurtosis value is negative, minus 0.275. That means your data is which type? Mesokurtic, leptokurtic, platykurtic. Platy means flatter. Flatter will happen only if it is negative. So you can say our data is a little bit platykurtic. So it's flatter than the normal. That is the interpretation. Then minimum value of your data. That means the person whose minimum age in your data is, that is of 18 years of age. 63 is maximum. So 63 minus 18 is 45. That is a range. Now we come to the percentile. Please remember, there is a difference between percentage and percentile. Percentage is always computed out of 100%. It will never give you any cutoff point. Let me just repeat. Percentage will never give you any cutoff point, but percentile will always give you a cutoff point. For example, let's say, what do you mean by median? Median is dividing the data into two equal parts. That is equivalent of 50th percentile. 50th percentile means dividing the data into 50-50. That means half. Again, you can see 50th percentile and median, they are same. Always be they are same. It will always happen. Right? And what is a 25th percentile? 25th percentile is called first quartile. Means, what is the meaning? Its cutoff is how much? 26. What is the meaning? Meaning is that 25% of the observations in your entire data set, they are below the age of 26 and equal to 26. This is the meaning. And similarly, 75th is called third quartile. This is called third quartile. 42. what you can say that 75% of the people in your entire data set are below or equal to the age of 42. This is the meaning, right? Similarly, cutoff point for 95th percentile is 53. What is the meaning? Meaning is that 95% of the people in your entire data set, they are below or equal to the age of 53. Alternatively, you can say that only 5% of the people in your data, because 100 minus 95 will be 5%. So 5% of the people in your data are above the age of 53. Alternatively, you can say this thing, right? Hopefully these things are clear. So interpretation has to be clear, and that is clear only when I describe the first research methodology part, that what is the meaning of each thing. Hopefully this will make sense to you. Okay, let's say I want to do separate analysis for male and female. So you can go to select cases, select male first, female first, and do the analysis, right? That is an exercise to you. You can try that. From data, you go to select cases, select only male, let's say gender is equal to 1, and then carry out the same analysis. You will get analysis done only for male, similarly for female. But suppose I want to perform for both of them, male and female, then there is a simplest command. There is no need to even split the file. There is no need to even split the file. So go to analysis, go to descriptive, and in descriptive there is an option which is called explore. Explore means exploring different categories. Explore means exploring different categories. So click on to explore, and now you want to do analysis for age, for male and female separately, and for age code wise also. Both ways it can be done. So let's take age as that we want to perform analysis. This is generally called dependent list, and according to the factor list, according to gender, according to age groups. Now what is written here? Display both. Both means statistics as well as plots. If you are interested only in statistics, click on to statistics. If you are only interested in plots, click on to plots. But we need both of them, let's say. Okay. And in statistics, these all descriptive statistics like mean, median, mode, skewness, kurtosis will be computed automatically. Counted. So press OK, and here is the entire result. Exploring gender wise. First of all, so there are 91 male, 78 female, total is 169. So first analysis you can see for male. All the median, variance, minimum range, skewness is also here positive, kurtosis is negative. So you know now the interpretation for male. Similarly, below that is for female, right? So if you see the mean for female, it is 34.6. Mean for male is 34.04. So that means females are slightly having higher age on an average as compared to male, slightly, but there is hardly any difference. Okay, just leave this stem and leaf diagram, come on to a very important plot. This is called basically the box plot. Box plot. Box plot is a very, very important plot. And how this box plot is drawn, actually I have shown you the 25th percentile, that is called first quartile, and 75th is called third quartile. So their values, the cutoff points for any data can be computed, just like we have computed, right? For example, for male data, you can see the quartiles here. Quartiles are given or not? Median is there. Interquartile range is given. Quartiles are not given. Huh? Anyhow, okay, just leave it. So that means there is a box in between. Now how this box is drawn? Basically, the lower end of the box is placed against Q1, that cutoff, and upper end of the box is placed against Q3, that is 75th percentile. You know the value of 75th percentile. You know the value of 25th percentile. So this box is drawn between these two values. Which values? 25th and 75th. They are known as first quartile and third quartile, right? Then there is a whisker. This is called whisker. Whisker means right from the center of the box, it joins to the lowest value present in the data. And right from the upper and middle point of the box, it will join to the highest point, the largest point in present in the data. And same way on the female. So box plot is generally used for comparison purpose. And there is a line. This is called median. This is called median. You can see there is hardly any difference between medians of male and female. They are almost equal. But you can look at the skewness and kurtosis again. For example, the lower area of the box is less, upper area is more. Same thing is here. The lower area of the box is less, upper area is more. Let's say your data would have been symmetrical. If data would have been symmetrical, median would have been there right in the center, but it is not in the center, right? It is towards Q1. This is Q1, this is Q3. If it is towards Q1, then it is positively skewed. Why? Because if you tilt this to 90 degree, and draw a line, so your line will look like this from here, and then it will go like this. So it is positively skewed. Similarly, this will look like this. If you tilt this to 90 degree, it will go like this. Again, it is positively skewed. So you can say that for both male and female, it is positively skewed, right? So that is the interpretation of the box plot. But box plot is a very, very important plot. It can identify outliers also. What is an outlier? I'll just explain you in a moment. Just wait for a moment. All right. Next is same analysis for 10 to 19 years. Each value 20 to 29 years, 30 to 39, 40 to 49, 60 to 69. And finally, you have this graph, box plot. And this is basically give you piecewise information. If I want to see that which age group is almost symmetrical, symmetrical means median would have been in the center. So this age group, 40 to 49 years of age group, is almost symmetrical, almost. But this is positively skewed. This age group is negatively skewed. This is again positively skewed. This is positively skewed. This is almost symmetrical, right? So you can get some kind of inference. So this is how you can explore categories wise analysis without splitting the file. All right. OK, so let me just close this and draw certain graphics. So we have done preliminary analysis. Let's go for the graphics and then we'll move on to the next part. OK, so you can draw different type of graphs in using SPSS. So we'll draw a simple graph first of all. So here is the option which is called graph. In graph, go to legacy dialog. You also use chart builder. In chart builder, you can, let's say I want to draw this type of graph. You can shift this here, then specify your x-axis, y-axis, you will get the graph immediately. But for beginners, this is slightly difficult. You can explore it later on. But this graph option with legacy dialog is very simple. Let's say I want to draw a bar plot. So go to bar. Bar is generally drawn for categorical data. Let's say simple bar. For the group of cases means male and female. Define. Let's say this is also age code category. Suppose I want to draw bar plot for age code. So shift your variable to the category axis. You see what I did actually. You just have to mark here. There are two ways, or you can shift it here. Other is you can just drag and drop it here. When we have to drop, I'm just dragging it here. Don't move your cursor unless a hand appears. Now, when hand appears, leave it, right? So it will be dropped here and then press OK. And now you will get a bar plot. So you can see this is a bar graph, and how you can edit this graph, how you can add title, x-axis title, y-axis title, very simple. Click on to, first of all, double click, and in double click, let's say I don't like this color. You can change the colors also. Say fill and border option is there. Let's say I'm interested into this color. So all the colors will get changed. Even the color of one bar you can change. Let's say this is a significant bar. I want to change the color of this. So mark this bar. You can see a yellow border around all bars, but I am interested only in this bar. So there is an option. Place your cursor on this bar, right click. Then there is an option, select this bar. Now you can see border around this bar only. Other borders are been missing now because you selected this bar, and change the color of this, let's say yellow. So only this. Similarly, you can change the color of any. Let's say I want to mark that this is a significant bar. You can change this. Similarly, you can change the scale also. Let's say this scale is gap of 20, 20, 40, 60. I want this gap to be 5. So you can go to scale. So major increment is 20. Rather than 20, you can write 5. So apply. And if it is not readable, you can make this text style as bold. Let's say I make this as bold, and you can increase slightly a size also. Let's say 9 and apply. And now it is readable. Similarly, you can change this. Let's say text style, say bold, and let's say 9 and apply. So this has become this. And let's say instead of age code, I want to write down this as simply age or age categories, whatever you want to write. Suppose I want to write down age, so you can replace. Similarly, instead of this, let's say I want to write down frequency. So you can write frequency. So you are getting a nice. Similarly, you can add title here. Elements. So there is a title here. See, insert a title. So insert the title here. Let's say if you insert the title here, say bar diagram, right? So it is saying bar diagram. And you can write something in between also. Let's say I want to write down that this is a significant bar, right? If you want to write down, then there is an option here. Option is you can look into options, text box. You can choose the text box and you can shift this text box somewhere here. Suppose I write down the text box that this is significant bar. Okay, now just slightly you can move this here, right, and make some kind of adjustment so that near the bar you can see that this is a significant bar. Slight adjustment, and you can shift it anywhere. Let's say I'm interested here, so you can shift it here. So this is a significant bar. Okay, so you can write in between also. So this is what you can do. So entire graph is complete, but please remember how to edit your chart. You cannot edit it here. Just close this. Now you are back to here. Suppose anything I want to add something or something, you need to double click here. Any chart can be edited by double clicking. You double click, you will come to what is called chart editor. Chart editor means you can edit your chart. You can edit your chart, right? And once you have done all the additions and everything, then close and then right click, copy this, and you can paste it anywhere. Suppose you want to put it in Word, so put it here, paste. So this is your final graph. And you cannot do anything here. No corrections can be done. But only thing is you can increase the size depending upon the size of your space. If your space is less, so you can squeeze this little bit. Let's say you have this much of size, right? Similarly, from this side you can do. So according to your available space, you can adjust the graph and then you can write whatever you want to write. So this is your final graph, and one graph we have drawn. So let's draw one or two another graphs. Let's say graph, and let's say again bar diagram, say clustered bar diagram, right? In clustered bar diagram, let's say define. So your category axis is again, let's say age code, and cluster by gender. So it will give you male and female simultaneously, the graph. You can see the graph. So this blue line is for male and this is for female. Similarly, if you double click, you can add titles, you can write in between. All the other things are same. All other things are same, right? So that is you have to practice, because I cannot do all the graphs here. So I'm just giving you an idea that how to draw different kind of graphs. So let's look at the next graph, which is called line diagram. And in line diagram, let's say simple. Let's say according to the number of cases in each category. So it will count the number of cases in each category. And at each point, it will combine them. So this is, there are only 4, there is a 66 and so on. So this is a line diagram. Similarly, you can have the another plot like area. Yes, please. Arpana, is this okay?
Yes, sir.
Is everything is visible now?
Yes, sir. Everything is visible.
Yeah, okay. Look, go to area. Area is also a very important plot. Let's say I want to draw area. I mean area covered by male, area covered by female. So define, let's say, okay, not this option, graph and area and for separate variables. All right. No, I think I'm clicking the wrong option. So area, this one. Yeah, now it will be okay. Now define, let's say this is age code category, area defined by gender, and you will see a very important graph which is called area graph. Now you can see that this much area is covered by female and this much area is covered by male. Okay, so this is called area graph. Then 1 or 2 more graphs. Then I'll move on to 3-dimensional pictures. Let's say I want to draw a pie diagram. Okay, let's say this is a pie diagram. Pie diagram define, let's say define slices by age. So click onto this. So this is a pie diagram. And if you double click, so these are the areas of different sectors you can see, and you can mark the percentage also. So double click, you will come to chart editor, and in chart editor you can show data labels. So these are the percentages of each sector, right? Percentages of each sector, and you can go for the exploded slice also. Where is the exploded slice? This is exploded slice. So if you click, you will get this different types, exploded slice, and you come back. So you will come to this. You can also control depth and angles. That is generally required for 3-dimensional pictures. But suppose you want 3-dimensional pie chart. So click on to 3-dimensional. This is 3-dimensional, right? And apply. So you will get a 3-dimensional pie diagram. 3-dimensional pie diagram. And your first slice is always placed at 12 o'clock. But suppose I want that first slice should be placed at 3 o'clock. So there is an option. First slice, clock position. You can change the position to 3 o'clock. And you can say it will move to 3 o'clock. You see, it has moved to. Similarly, you can move to this. Similarly, you can draw the shadow also. If I want with shadow, so this is with shadow. With shadow. And you can control the shadow also from here. You can control. Let's say I want this type. So it's another. If you want more shadow, you can control from here. You see. And depth and angles can be controlled. For example, this, right? And you can make this. Oh, it's very small. Right? But anyhow, so all this is possible in 3-dimensional pictures. So similarly, you can go for another plot. Let's say box plot I have already explained. And lastly, histogram. How to draw histogram? Let's say histogram is generally drawn for continuous data and age is a continuous data. Let's say histogram for age along with the normal curve. And you can see this is a picture of the histogram. And in histogram, if you see this is a normal curve and this is a bar. All the bigger bar left and right continue in continuation, right? But some of the bars are outside this curve. Some of the bars are outside this curve. If they are outside this curve, that means your data is not symmetrical. Your data is not symmetrical. It is not normally distributed. It is not normally distributed. If all the bars, they would have been within this line or within this circle, sorry, not circle, within this curve, then it would have been normally distributed. Now, can we say that it is positively or negatively skewed? Yes. How? Suppose you drop a line from the highest point. Then how many bars on the left hand side? Maybe 5 or 6 bars on the left hand side. But how many bars on the right hand side? More than that. Maybe 10 or 11 bars on the right hand side. If more bars on the right hand side, then it is positively skewed. So data is positively skewed. And this is what the picture was also given by when we have beta 1. Beta 1 says it is greater than 0, 0.69 something. That was greater than 0. That means data is positively skewed. And in fact, when we have drawn the box plot, it also says that it is positively skewed, right? Similarly, in order to draw the bar diagram for 3-dimensional, you can look at, let's say, 3-dimensional pictures in a very clear way. 3D bar. Let's say I want to draw 3D bar. So define. This is age code category. And this is, let's say, gender, and press OK. And you can see 3-dimensional. So this graph is for female and this is for male in 3-dimensional pictures. So it is just a practice. You have to practice a little bit to draw the graphs in SPSS. So I think I will stop with the graphics. If you have any questions or any query before I move on to the next topic, please. Basic analysis we have done, graphics we have done. If you have any questions, I can answer.
So one participant raised his hand during the session, Parul.
Yeah.
So
yes,
please, Parul ma'am,
Parul,
if there is any query,
Parul, you can ask question now. Parul, yes, please.
Parul, are you there?
Just unmute her. Unmute Parul, I think. Or Parul, she can put the question in chat box.
If you have any query, either write in the chat box or just unmute yourself and ask the question. Sir, I don't think so they have any query now. Otherwise, they can unmute.
Okay. Any other question?
So there is one candidate who raised his hand.
Yes, please.
Hello.
Sir, Priyanka.
Yes.
So can you explain the box plot?
Yeah, box plot. Okay. Just box plot is generally used for comparison purpose or finding out the outliers. Let's say I want to draw a box plot for age, right? So you go to graph, you go to, let's say, graph, and there is a box plot here. So let's say I draw for a separate variable. Separate variable means age, not for group of cases like male and female. Define. So let's say box plot for age, and this is a box plot for age. You can see. Now, what is the meaning of this? A box will be drawn right there in the center, and the lower end of the box will be placed against the value Q1. What is Q1? And upper end of the box will be placed at Q3. What is Q3? Let's say I give you 100 observations, height of 100 students, right? You arrange this in order from the lowest to the highest. You will be having 100 values. Then your 25th value will be your Q1. 25th value will be your Q1 and 75th value will be Q3. If you have 200 observations, then 50th value will be Q1 and 150th value will be Q3. So you can, lower end of the box is placed against Q1 and upper end of the box is placed against Q3. You draw a box. This is a box. Then from the center of this box, there will be lowest value present in the data and highest value present in the data. For example, our lowest value is 18. So it is connecting from the lowest, from the center of the box to the lowest value, which is 18 in our data. And highest value is 63. It is connecting up to 63. So this is called whisker. So there is a box, there is a whisker, and the name is given box and whisker plot. The complete name is box and whisker plot, right? So box plot is generally used for identifying the outliers. Now, what is an outlier? Let's say I show you one important, very important feature, those who are interested into research. Suppose now age, how much age you can expect in India? 80, 90, maximum 100, sometimes maximum to maximum 105, 6, right? But let's say while entering the data, somebody has made a mistake. This is 51. By making a mistake, he or she has entered 151. Let's say, right? Now, do you think age could be 151 in such a corona time as well as stressful atmosphere and polluted environment? You cannot expect age to be 151. So this is a mistake, right? Now, if you are dealing with 50,000 observations, you will never come to know where is the problem. But if you draw a box plot, it will depict this, that there is problem with this observation. How? Let me draw. Go to graph. That's why box plot is a very important plot. Go to box plot and then define, take this age outside, and now sometimes it takes the previous value otherwise. Now draw the box plot for age again by changing this value to 51 to 151. Press OK. Now you see what happens. Your entire graph has been shifted to this much, right? And sometimes we never come to know where is a mistake, and we can carry out the entire PhD thesis also. It is approved, and after 10 years we come to know that we have made a mistake. And what is a mistake? It says that there is observation number 13 and it says it is a star. Star means it is an outlier. What is an outlier? Outlier is an observation which is away from the main body of the data. So this observation is nowhere here. This is the main body of the data, right? It is away from that. Just like I was giving example of say all the values are between 120 to 140, but one value is 220 away from the main body of the data. That is an outlier. So box plot help you to depict an outlier. It says you must check your observation number 13. You go back to this and you can see observation number 13. Obviously there is a mistake. No graph can depict except box plot, right? So it will give you an idea that you must check this observation. Then this is the correct observation. So you can refer back and make this correction. That is the idea of box plot. Yes, please. Any other question?
Thank you so much.
Hello.
Yes, please. Question,
Hello.
please. Yes.
Am I audible, sir?
Yes, yes. Please ask question.
Sir, if we have any missing values in our data, then how we deal with that missing figures?
Okay. See, there are options in how to deal with missing values. I mean, you can estimate the missing values. There are options here in SPSS. For example, let's say this observation is missing. This observation is missing. This observation is missing. And this observation is missing. I want to estimate this, right? So one way is you can replace with by getting the mean of all others. That is called mean of the series. But all this is given here. Go to transform, and here is the option: replace missing values. Right now, replace missing values. For example, there are missing values in age now. Let's say I want to replace. One option is replace by series mean. That means it will compute the mean of the rest of the observation and replace by that. Okay. Are you following me?
Yes, sir.
So if I press this, you can see every figure will be replaced by the same number because it will compute the mean of the rest and replace it. Press OK and it will generate another variable. It says 4 values are missing. It has been estimated and these are the estimated values. You can see here missing 34, here also 34. So it has replaced by. So rather than using age, you can use age 1 as a variable, which is a complete now. This is one way. Hello.
Hanji sir, second way.
Second way is also there, but this is not the correct way. This method is applicable only when your data is almost normal. Then you can use this method. But there is an option here. Go to transform, replace missing value, and you can change the method. Let's say I remove this and change this age. Let's say I change the method, say by nearby points, mean of nearby points. Mean of nearby points means what? Mean of nearby points means, and make a change here, age 2. So it will generate age 2, and let me give this as age 2 and press OK. I will tell you what is the meaning of this. You can have here maybe, okay, 2 points, number by 2 points, press OK. All right. So it will generate another variable. You can see what happens. Anyhow, where was the missing value? So here is a missing value. First missing value is not that earlier we have. So it is 26. Now this is 33. Why this thing has happened? The reason is very simple. Generally, this is by computing the first two nearby points and the last two nearby points. I'll give you example wherever this method is applicable. There is a air pollution monitoring in every city, right? Air pollution monitoring. Suppose if there is a holiday, then this station doesn't work. If there is a holiday, people are on holiday, it will not work. Let's say you have observation for Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday comes as a holiday, and Thursday and Friday observations are there. Then it will look into the mean of Monday and Tuesday and replace this on Wednesday. You follow my point?
Hanji, sir.
Right? Or if you are using 2 points, then what it will do, Monday and Tuesday it will club, and then Thursday and Friday take 4 observation, take their mean and replace it on Wednesday. So this method is applicable whenever such type of problems are there, like air pollution data, then this method is applicable. But what is the best method? So I'll tell you the best method also. Go to a transform missing value, and this is the best method, which is called linear trend at point. So it computes what is the trend at each point and then give you the answer actually. So let me just replace, and for age data, let me change this name, which I say age 3, and then linear trend at point and change. So this is age 3 will be equal to this. So it is by using trend method. So automatically it adjusts the trend and press OK. And this is the best method is this one actually. So it computes the trend of the data and see that by interpolation method that it will be replaced by this. If the trend is quadratic, so it will be replaced in that particular by quadratic. If it is linear, it will be replaced by linear. So this method is the best one. You follow my point?
Hanji, sir. Thank you, sir.
So this is how to deal with missing value. Yes, please. Any other question? Any other question? Arpana, any other question?
Sir, I don't. Ajay sir, you have raised your hand.
Yes,
Ajay
please.
sir, is there any query?
You can unmute and ask questions.
Ajay Pal Singh.
Evening, sir. I have a query.
Yes,
Am
please.
I audible?
Yes.
Sir, I'm myself Shweta Gupta, assistant professor in economics. Sir, actually there was some network issue, so बीच में थोड़ा सा मेरे steps miss हो गए. जो आपने बताया था हम import करते हैं data from Excel to SPSS.
कोई बात नहीं. आपको ना मैडम ने अभी एक YouTube का वीडियो भेजा है मेरा.
हाँ जी सर जी.
उसमें स्टेप्स आप दोबारा देख लीजिए, उसके अंदर दिया हुआ है हाउ टू इंपोर्ट डाटा फ्रॉम एक्सेल टू दिस. आपको प्रॉब्लम नहीं आएगी.
Okay, thank you so much, sir.
Any other question, please? Any other?
Any other query? So there is no query in the chat box.
Okay. Should I continue for another?
Sir,
We have 20 minutes now.
Sir, Parul ma'am want to ask something, sir.
Sure,
Hanji,
please.
Hanji. So there is another method for missing values, that is estimation maximization method.
There are many other. There are thousands of methods. But,
so
but in SPSS, it is very limited. It's very limited. You can see the methods are only up to. There are many methods. The best method is called by using generalized LT models, and one of my students has PhD on that. She is right now in US, and it's a very complicated model, but give you very correct information. So these are the only 4 methods. 5 methods are given: series mean, mean of nearby points, median, linear interpolation, and linear trend by at point. There are many other methods. Many other.
So I just want to know the drawbacks of that method, because I have used that method.
This topic, because that requires a little bit of mathematics, I cannot explain here. You can ask me separately.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you,
yes,
sir.
please. Any other?
Sir, there is no question, I think so.
So
because
we
there is
have
no
20
query.
minutes. You have 20 minutes. I think I can go up to correlation or regression, whatever the participants. In 20 minutes, I can cover maybe correlation or regression and give you the demonstration also. Okay. I think this is what we can do. Otherwise, time is only 20 minutes. Let me start with the correlation and regression. All right. So I'll be using this file. Go to the PPT again. So after a long time now, PPT is coming back. Let's look at correlation and regression. Then I'll stop because time is not allowing me to go beyond this. Now there are two terms here. I will also give you a practical demo. See, one is correlation, another is regression, and people generally mix up each other. These two are totally separate terms. What do you mean by correlation? Correlation means the strength of relationship between two variables or more than two variables. It is simply a strength of relationship between two variables or more than two variables. Remember, correlation is never used for prediction. I'm making a very strong statement. Correlation is never used for prediction. Only regression is used for prediction. Now, what do you mean by regression? Regression means it is used for prediction, that how we can predict the value of one variable by using value of other variables. How we can predict, right? So there are different type of correlation. There are different type of regressions. So first of all, let me cover correlation. What is a correlation and different type of correlations? Please try to understand, because unless you are not clear with the theory, the interpretation will be difficult. Karl Pearson's correlation coefficient. Everybody knows this. We learn in 11th or 12th standard these days. Please remember this Karl Pearson's correlation coefficient make only, you can note down, only when, number one, both variables are measurable quantities, like correlation between height and weight. So height is measurable, weight is measurable. Correlation between age and blood pressure. Age is measurable quantity, blood pressure is measurable quantity. So if there is any categorical variable, you cannot compute Karl Pearson correlation coefficient. So Karl Pearson correlation coefficient is to be computed only both y and x, they are metric variables. Metric means measurement. And second condition, there must be a linear relationship between y and x. If I plot x on x-axis, y on y-axis, then the points must be along a straight line. If the points are along a straight line, then and only then Karl Pearson's correlation coefficient makes sense. If points are along a curve or a quadratic curve or a cubic curve, then please do not compute Karl Pearson's correlation coefficient. It makes sense only under two conditions. Number one, both y and x measurable quantity. Number two, there should be a linear relationship between y and x. That's all. Number two, if you are given a ranking kind of data, let's say you are measuring something on 5-point scale, strongly disagree to strongly agree, and you want to correlate with another variable which is also measured on 5-point scale, strongly disagree to strongly agree. Then if the ranking of the data is already given, then you cannot use Karl Pearson's correlation coefficient, because it is your data is in the form of a rank. Then you must use Spearman's rank correlation coefficient. As the name suggests, rank, right? Then you use Spearman's rank correlation coefficient. Another, where to use Spearman's rank correlation coefficient? Let's say y and x, they are measurable quantities, but you look at the histogram of y, histogram of x, and they are not normally distributed. The shapes are not symmetrical, or you just look at box plot. The median is not there in the center. If median is not there in the center, do not apply even Karl Pearson. Although y and x, they are measurable quantities. Even then they are not normal. If they are not normal, if they are non-normal, you again apply Spearman's rank correlation coefficient for measurable quantities also. Automatically it will rank them and give you the answer. Please remember this R and this rho. They are the notations for Karl Pearson and Spearman's. Their values will always lies between -1 to +1. -1 to +1. Okay. So these are the two different type of correlations. You are aware of this, maximum people, but I'll discuss something else. Then there is a multiple correlation also. What is a multiple correlation? Multiple correlation means that one variable is dependent upon so many other variables. Let's say Y represents yield of a crop. Now, yield of a crop depends upon amount of fertilizer used, that is X1, amount of seed used, that is X2, amount of rainfall, that is X3. So such type of variables, they are known as independent variables, and this is called dependent variable. And you are looking at the correlation between dependent variable and set of independent variable, all of them taken together. All of them taken together. Then this type of correlation is called multiple correlation. So it is extension of Karl Pearson basically. Here it is only one variable, here it is more than one variable. Y is same. There is only, if you take only X1, so it becomes Karl Pearson's. Now you have X2, Xk. All metric means all have to be measurement. Y will be a measurement, X1 will be a measurement, X2. There is no categorical variable here. No, not at all. Okay. Then there is a partial correlation. What is a partial correlation? Partial correlation is nothing but correlation between two variables, but sometimes the relationship between two variables may be affected by some other variable. It can happen. For example, somebody is looking into relationship between age and blood pressure. Okay, let me give you example. Somebody is looking into relationship between age and blood pressure. All right. Now you plot, let's say, age on x-axis, blood pressure on y-axis, and look at the scatter plot. So scatter plot says that there is a linear relationship, and you compute Karl Pearson's correlation coefficient and give the answer that they are strongly related. When age will increase, blood pressure will increase. So there is a positive correlation. You can give your answer. But some doctor is sitting over there, you are making presentation, and he is asking a question. In your data, whether there were smokers and non-smokers also. And you haven't looked into this kind of aspect, that there were smokers and non-smokers. It may happen that in your entire data, there may be smokers and non-smokers. And clinically, it is all tested that those who are non-smokers, they are likely to have high blood pressure as compared to those who are non-smoker. Clinically, it is tested. And you have completely ignored the smoking aspect. That means this smoking factor can indirectly affect the relationship between age and blood pressure. Yes or no? Yes, it can indirectly affect the relationship between age and blood pressure. Because those who are non-smokers, those who are smokers, they can have high blood pressure as compared to those who are smokers. So whenever we are computing the relationship, it may be just the effect of smoking only, which you have completely ignored. So in such type of cases, we use what is called partial correlation. So partial correlation means you have to control the effect of smoking before actually looking into the relationship between age and blood pressure. So if you control that, then we call this correlation as a partial correlation, right? And if the points are not along a straight line, they are along a curve, then we use another type of correlation, correlation ratio. And if there is no trend, either increasing, decreasing, points are scattered all around, then we can sometimes come across another correlation problem that is called non-linear correlations. But it is difficult. It's a one complete subject of one semester, non-linear correlations. Okay, so here is a simple plot, height versus weight. Points are along a straight line. You can use Karl Pearson's correlation coefficient. And if it is increasing trend, positive correlation. When prices go high, consumption will go down. So decreasing trend, but points are along a straight line. So this type of correlation can be captured by Karl Pearson correlation coefficient. Okay. Look at this graph. Blood pressure, hemoglobin. There is no specific trend. You cannot say it is increasing or decreasing. In such type of cases, there may be some other kind of correlation, but at least you can rule out the possibility that there is no linear correlation. Linear means points are along a straight line. At least that possibility is not there, that there is no linear correlation. There could be any other correlation, and that's why we look at non-linear type of correlations, right? These are not the only type of correlations. There are many other types of correlations. You now know nominal, ordinal, interval ratio for measurable quantities. These are for the categorical data. If one variable is nominal, another is also nominal, then different type of correlations are there. You cannot compute Karl Pearson. You cannot compute Spearman. And out of this uncertainty coefficient is the best. Nominal by nominal. Let me give you an example. Let's say On one side, you have a gender, male and female, that is nominal. On other side, you have blood groups, A positive, O positive, right? O negative, etc. Then you are looking at relationship between gender and blood groups. Can I say that males are dominated by O positive or females are dominated by some other relationship? Then it's a nominal by nominal. Which kind of correlation you can be computed? Then this is the coefficient generally we compute, uncertainty coefficient. If it is ordinal by ordinal, one variable is ordinal, another is also ordinal, then gamma coefficient is the best, right? If nominal, one variable is nominal, another is interval, then this kappa coefficient or bicycle correlation coefficient, they are the best, right? So there are different type of correlations. So this, I have given you several examples in correlation, different types. If nominal by nominal scale, gender versus blood types. Ordinal by ordinal, paternal age versus risk of disease, mild, moderate, severe. So it's ordinal. Paternal age can be categorized, let's say 25 to 35, 35 to 45, 45 to 55. So it is again ordinal, ordinal versus ordinal. Nominal by ordinal, AMD. AMD means age-related macular degeneration, yes or no. So it is nominal. Ordinal means just like genotype, risk of disease, mild, moderate, severe. So it is ordinal. So this has to be computed. So different type of correlations can be computed, right? So this I have, what is the idea of a strong and weak relationship? Idea of strong and weak relationship is if your points are very, very close. For example, where to use this linear relationship? Points are along a straight line, points are along a straight line. So you can use Karl-Pearson correlation coefficient. But here points are along a curve. It is again along a curve. You cannot use Karl-Pearson here. Idea of strong and weak relationship. If points are very, very close, then it's a strong relationship. Here also there is an increasing, there is a decreasing trend, but points are scattered. Still you can apply Karl-Pearson, but Karl-Pearson correlation coefficient is called weak relationship because points are scattered, right? Points are scattered. So that means in this case, if you see, there will be a strong relationship. In this case, it will be correlation may be 0.8, 0.9. Here correlation may be 0.5, 0.6, something like that, right? So that's all about the correlation. Multiple correlation, partial I have already explained. And before giving you the practical demo, let me in 5 minutes complete regression. If you allow me, I can give the practical demo. Otherwise, I can leave that. Okay, regression. Regression, as I mean, is used for prediction. Let's say simple regression. There are two types of regression, simple regression and multiple regression. What is a simple regression? In simple regression, we have one dependent variable and one independent variable, just like height and weight. So let's say this is height, this is weight. So we know equation of a straight line from our 9th or 10th standard. What is equation of a straight line? Y is equal to mx plus c. But in modeling, we use the error term. This is called measurement error. So it is just like mx plus c. This is your c, this is your mx. C is called intercept. So here beta naught is intercept, beta 1 is slope, x is independent variable, y is dependent variable, and this is an error. We need to control this error. Why we include this error? It's very simple. Suppose I ask a person to measure the height of some individual by measuring tape, and he give the answer 157.2 centimeter. And this person is gone. I ask the another person, now you measure. Now he give the value as 157.3 centimeter. So there is a little bit of difference between the two. Or he can give 157.23 centimeter. So there is a little bit of difference. That is, I mean, two measurable or three measurable quantities are not always same. Even if you measure blood pressure by 2-3 people they measure, they will not give you the exact value. This is called measurement error. That is captured in this. And our aim is to minimize this. So we minimize this error. There is a principle of mathematics, which is called method of least square. So we minimize the error sum of squares. Then these beta naught and beta 1, they are estimated from the given data. And if they are estimated from the given data, then you give any value to error will go to 0. Then you give any value to x, you can estimate y, right? So this is how the procedure goes. This is called intercept. This is called slope. This is independent variable. This is dependent variable. This is called random error, which is beyond your control. And we have to minimize this error. So let's say this is a scatter plot of observations, right? So what is this intercept? You can draw a line which is crossing through the maximum number of points. This line is used for prediction. And wherever it crosses the y-axis, the distance from origin to that place is called intercept. Intercept could be negative also. And this beta 1 is basically the angle. So if I draw a line parallel to the x-axis, you see, then there is an angle. This angle beta 1 can be written in terms of angle, which is called slope. So this angle is basically your slope, theta. So beta 1 can be written in terms of theta, right? And from the given data, we can estimate this beta naught and beta 1. And if we estimate, we get the estimated equation. So this is the final equation, which we get where unknown coefficients beta naught and beta 1 are estimated through method of least squares. Method of least squares. It consists in minimizing the error sum of squares. Let's say this is known to you. This is known to you. What is this? This is an estimate of beta naught. This is an estimate of beta 1. Right? Now you give any value to x, you can estimate y. That's the predicted value. You are watching television. That is next day's forecast. That chances of rain this much %, all based on regression technique. That's regression. It's not a simple regression, of course. It's a stochastic modeling regression, which we generally apply in prediction of the next day's forecast. And extension of simple regression is multiple regression. This is a multiple regression, right? I mean, it can be extended to more than one variable where y is dependent on x1, x2, x3, xk. Again, we minimize the error by using method of least squares and we get the predicted equation. Now you give any value to x1, x2, xk, you can estimate y, where these are estimated by using method of least squares. So terminology which is used in multiple regression is multiple R square and adjusted R square. So this completes the theory of the regression and correlation. If you allow me next 10 minutes, I can give you a practical example. Otherwise, I will stop. Yes, please. Archana madam, because
सर मुझे तो कोई वो नहीं है बाकी हाँ जी participants मुझे लगता है सर सारे interested होंगे सुनने में.
I can take another maximum 10-12 minutes to give you practical demo now. That's it.
Yes, sir. Please give the
But I
practical
think
demo.
we all are
Okay.
interested. Yes, sir.
Okay, let me give you the practical demo. And practical demo won't take much time, so that whatever we have discussed, at least you can understand what I'm trying to say. Okay. First of all, look at the simple correlation and regression. Let's look at simple correlation. Some problem in opening the file. Anyhow, let me open from here. When computer is running for 2-3 hours, no? Then sometimes file doesn't open. Anyhow, so file, open. Our file is on desktop. Let me see. There is a folder called SPSS, this one. And in this folder, there is a file which is called correlation. This correlation. Okay, open. Now it will open. All right. Now you can see there are two variables here, gestational age versus birth weight. I think everybody knows what do you mean by gestational age. During the pregnancy, if the gestational age is less and the baby is born, it's a premature baby, then the birth weight will be less. For example, this baby is born only at the gestation age. Gestational age, normal gestational age for ladies is 37 to 41 weeks, right? If it is less than that, then there is always a premature baby. For example, the baby born here is only of age 29 gestational age. That means the baby is not fully developed. Parts are developed, but no weight will be less. And then there may be complications, you see. So we are looking at the relationship between gestational age and birth weight. Very practical example. So first thing is to look at the graph, scatter plot. Look at the scatter plot. So here is a scatter plot. Can we apply Karl Pearson or not? Just to see the possibility. So this is a scatter plot. Define. So on x-axis you have gestational age. On y-axis birth weight, which you want to predict, right? So look at the graph and see, can we apply this or not? Okay. So you can see the points are along a straight line. If I draw a line, the points are along a straight line. So still I can apply Karl-Pearson's correlation coefficient. One thing is clear, there is an increasing trend. That means if gestational age will increase, then baby's birth weight is also increasing marginally or sufficiently, right? Okay. So one thing is clear, we can apply Karl-Pearson. How to apply? Go to analysis, go to correlation, go to bivariate. Because why bivariate? Because there are only two variables. Two variable means bivariate. So press Control A and take this to this side. This is Karl-Pearson's correlation coefficient. If data would have been ranking, you can click on to Spearman's ranking. Switch off this. You will get Spearman's rank. Now press OK. And this is the amount of correlation between gestational age and birth weight. It will always give you a matrix. Matrix means gestational age with gestational age correlation will always be 1. Similarly, birth weight with birth weight will always be 1. That is not our interest. Our interest is to look for correlation between gestational age and birth weight. So how much is the correlation? 0.818. Very high. It's close to 1. Its value should be between -1 to +1. So that means there is a relationship. And if star is marked, that means it is significant. If double star is marked, it is highly significant. So there is a double star. Here is a double star, right? So this is, and there are three values here basically. This cell and this cell will be always the same because it is a correlation between gestational age and birth weight, and this is between birth weight and gestational age. Just like multiplying 3 with 4 or 4 with 3, you will get the same result, 12. It's just like that. And this is a p-value. Please remember, if your p-value, this is a p-value. Whenever in SPSS it is written significance, that means it is a p-value. Whenever p-value is, please note down for the time being, if p-value is less than 0.05, the result is significant. Let me just repeat. If p-value is less than 0.05, the result is significant. So here p-value is 0.000, that means it is significant. It is less than 0.05. So there is a significant correlation between gestational age and birth weight. Now let's look at regression. Suppose, what is the meaning of regression? Now somebody says that if the gestational age is, suppose the gestational age is somewhere, I say, let's say 34.9. If the gestational age is 34.9, then what should be the corresponding birth weight? Now it is not given here. We want to estimate, right? We want to estimate that what is the, if the gestational age is 34.9, then what could be the birth weight? And we have seen that there is a good amount of correlation. So based on this data, we can estimate our parameters. What we need to do? Go to analysis, go to regression now, because we want to predict now. Suppose linear regression, we have a linear regression because the points are along a straight line. Birth weight is our dependent variable. Gestational age is independent variable. Just simply press OK. And if you press simply OK, this is R. And now I want to estimate birth weight when gestational age is, let's say, 34.9. Then this is the equation. This is the value of beta naught. This is beta 1. They have been estimated from the data. So how to write down the equation? This is how you need to write down the equation. That birth weight in grams will be equal to minus 4020.054 plus, this is your beta naught, plus beta 1. This is the value of beta 1. 180.455 multiply with gestational age. Gestational, let me put in short, gestational age. So this is your equation, right? Gestational age. So this is the equation you have already formed. Now, if somebody is interested to see, if I take gestational age as 34.9, what could be the birth weight? So everything is known to you. You just multiply with 34.9 with 180 point this, add this, and you will get the actual birth weight of the baby, right? Although it was not given, but you can estimate. So this is what do you mean by simple regression. Now, two things to remember. Number one, The first thing which you remember, what you need to report in the final analysis. Whenever you are doing a simple regression, value of R must be high and it should be significant. So we have already seen that value of R is not R square, please. For simple regression, we see R 0.818 and its level of significance was 0.000. If it is written 0.000, you always put 1. So you have to write down that P is 0.0001. Put 1, right? I will tell you what is the meaning of this. Then ANOVA table value has to be significant. What is this? What is this? This ANOVA is not the ANOVA for comparison. This is basically testing of your regression coefficients. So a hypothesis which will be tested here is because your hypothesis, your equation is y is equal to beta naught plus beta 1x plus error, right? So it is testing the hypothesis that beta 1 is equal to 0 and it has to be significant. Let's say beta 1 is 0, then x will obviously be 0. Then there is no contribution of x to predict y. Your model is y is equal to beta naught plus beta 1x. Suppose beta 1 is 0. Then that means x cannot predict y because x will also be 0 then. So it is basically testing that aspect. So it has to be significant. That means beta 1 is not 0 actually, right? And the third thing is this value of gestational age, which is a slope, has to be significant. So this is significant, not the constant. Constant you should not bother. So 3 things you have to see. Value of R must be high. This must be significant. And this independent variable, regression coefficient must be significant. So if they are, then you can get the predicted equation. So that's it about the simple regression. And finally, now multiple regression. Dr. Arpana, I'll take another 5 minutes to complete multiple regression. If you allow me.
Yes,
we
sir.
can
Yes,
continue?
sir. You can take. Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's go for multiple regression also. So this is the last for today, multiple regression. Let me open a file of multiple regression. Just a minute. This is in file. Multiple. Open. Okay. So some psychologist is also here. Let me look into this problem. Sorry. So you see, there is a psychologist who want to estimate IQ. And IQ based on what? IQ based on mental age, anxiety, depression score, stress, communication score, convolution score. So all these are basically predictors. They are independent variables. And IQ is a dependent variable. So it's a problem of a multiple regression. He or she wants to predict IQ, which is a dependent variable, based on 6 predictors. So this is your Y, this is your X1, X2, X3, X4, X5, X6. So 6 predictors. So problem of multiple regression, right? Now let's look at the problem of multiple regression. First of all, compute. We will also go for multiple regression. Let's look at a simple correlation, how IQ is related to this, right? So simple correlation matrix. So let's look at correlation first of all. Bivariate, control A, take it to this side, and let's look at Pearson correlation coefficient. And our interest is to see YQ, how it is related to mental age, how it is related to anxiety. So IQ with mental age is significant. Star is there. P value is less than 0.05. So good. IQ with anxiety, significant. Okay. IQ with depression score, significant. P value less than 0.05. What about stress? Correlation is very poor, 0.29. P value is more than 0.05, non-significant. What about communication score? It is 0.721, significant. And the last one, convolution score, is also non-significant. So out of the 6 predictors, IQ is related to how many basically? 1, 2, 3, 4. And somebody can say that IQ can be predicted based on 4. Which one? Which are significant? Mental age, anxiety, depression, and communication score. Absolutely wrong answer. Absolutely wrong answer. Why? Because you are computing simply correlation, and correlation is never used for prediction. It is regression to be used for prediction. So that's a wrong answer actually. that you can predict IQ based on these 4. No, not at all. Let's apply regression and see out of 6, how many are important, right? Okay. So go for now 2-3 important questions in multiple regression. First of all, we have already seen a correlation matrix that 2 of them, this and this, they were non-significant. Stress and communication score, right? Then it may be when we apply regression, maybe 1 or more, 2 may also come out to be non-significant because that was the result of correlation. Now we have to compute regression. Okay. So let's say out of the, whether all the 6 are important or only out of the 6, 2 or 3 or 4 are important, right? And if they are important, only 4, let's say 3 or 4 are important, then in which order? Which one is highest related, which one is having highest correlation, which one is the next, which one is the next? You want to get the sequence, right? And answer to this is given by what is called stepwise regression. Answer to this is given by stepwise regression. So we will perform both and show you the result. Go to analysis, go to regression, go to linear. IQ is a dependent variable. Rest of them control A, mark them here. And I simply apply as enter method. Enter means whether they are significant, whether they are non-significant, it will be taken care of. Go to press OK. So it has entered all the variables, all the predictors. ANOVA table value is significant. In this case, you will not have to see R. You have to see R square, please. And adjusted R square, both. So R square is this, adjusted R square is this. So R square is quite high. Impressed. It has to be between 0 and 1 now. But look at this table. For example, dependent variable is IQ. Look at mental age. It is significant. P value is less than 0.05. Look at anxiety. This is also significant. Look at depression score. It is also significant because this value is still less than 0.05. But look at stress. It is more than 0.05. Non-significant. Communication score. In correlation, this was significant. But in regression, it is non-significant, right? And regression is used for prediction, not correlation. Convolution score, non-significant. Then out of the 6 predictors, only 3 are significant. Rest of them are non-significant. Then what they are doing in the model? They should be thrown out of the model because they are not making any significant contribution to predict IQ. Basically, these 3 variables which are non-significant are not making any significant contribution to predict this IQ. Then why they are sitting here in the model? They should be thrown out actually. So one way is you can remove yourself. You can remove stress, communication score, convolution score, and rerun the analysis. But that is not the correct way. That is not the correct way. Correct way is to go for stepwise regression. Okay. So let's go for stepwise regression, and that will be the last step for today. Stepwise regression. How to apply? So automatically non-significant variable will be thrown out of the model automatically. Say go to analysis, go to regression, go to linear, and change this method. Change the method to, there are many methods here. Enter method we have already tried. Stepwise, remove, backward, forward. Let me tell you, out of these 4 or 5 methods, stepwise and forward, they are equally efficient. You can apply stepwise, you can apply forward. Both of them are equally efficient. They give you high efficacy. So let me apply forward, right? And in statistics, you compute R square, descriptives, and then confidence intervals, and continue. And in options, you don't need to do anything, nothing else. That's it. And prediction, you can plot the dependent variable and the residual plot. Z predicted and actual value. Okay, continue. That's it. So forward will retain only the significant variables. So press OK, and here is your result. Now it will also give you that which variable is highest one. When we have applied the previous regression, mental age was coming at number 1, anxiety was at number 2, depression was at number 3. That was the hierarchy. But let's see now what is the hierarchy. First mean SD table. Then again, this is a correlation table, which we have already seen. Now it says first was in previous analysis, mental age was at number 1, but now it is replaced by anxiety. That means anxiety is at number 1, right? That can highest priority goes to anxiety to predict IQ. Next priority goes to mental age. Third priority goes to depression. So that is a hierarchy is also there. So you will also come. And where are the other three? They have been thrown out of the model actually. So here is when you have included only the first variable anxiety, your R square value was 0.903 and adjusted R square was this. But when you have included anxiety and mental age, your R square is 0.991 and adjusted R square is 0.990. It has improved and there is a significant change. And when we have included the third one also, which was making a significant contribution, anxiety, mental age and depression, then your R square has gone up to 0.995. Adjusted R square is 0.994 and again the significant change. After that, the significant change becomes non-significant and it stops actually. So other variables were excluded. So ANOVA table last value you have to see. So you must report the last table, this one, that in our data, three variables have been important: anxiety, mental age, depression score. I will give you the equation also. And value of R square was 0.995. Value of adjusted R square was 0.994. ANOVA table value last was significant because first was only with anxiety, second with anxiety and mental age. But we have to look at the number three. So this ANOVA table is significant. It has to be significant. And here is the final result. So model can be built based on only three variables. This is a constant: anxiety, mental age, depression. So how to build up the model? This is what you need to do. That IQ can be predicted is equal to, put the constant is minus 13.667 plus, that is the constant I am writing from here, plus 0.906 multiply by anxiety plus 0.702 multiply with mental age plus the last variable 4.627 multiply with depression score. So this is your final equation which you need to report. Now you give any, because these are the variables which are important for prediction. So you can give any value to anxiety. For mental age, depression, you can predict IQ from here. And just closing this, and where is the equation? I think I didn't. Anyhow, you know how to form equation. You can rewrite it. So equation will be done. And these are all excluded variables because their values were non-significant. Stress, non-significant, communication, non-significant. So that is the final equation which we have. And our model prediction is this: IQ and the predicted value. This is the predicted value. This is the actual value. Model seems to be very good. And here is the answer. You see, if you want to draw a regression line, you can draw the regression line around this. Add fit line at total. So this is the regression line. So these are your actual values. This is predicted by the equation. So very good. And with a correlation of 0.995, right? So 2-3 things last down. Number one, value of R square must be high. Here is value of R square at number 3 step must be high. It should be closer to 1. Number 2, there should not be much difference between R square and adjusted R square. Let me just repeat. Value of R square must be high. There should not be much difference between R square and adjusted R square. And you can see there is hardly any difference. I will tell you what is the meaning of adjusted R square. Wait for a moment. Number 3, value of ANOVA table must be significant at the last step. It is. And from here you can write down the equation. So you write down the equation, write down this ANOVA table, report R square, report adjusted R square. That's it. Right? Now what is the difference between R square and adjusted R square? Final step. See, we have 6 predictors. Suppose I include the 7th predictor also, age. Then value of R square will further increase. I include the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th predictor. Value of R square will go on increasing. Value of R square, this R square will go on increasing. But adjusted R square, but adjusted R square will only increase. There is some voice, but adjusted R square will only increase if it is making a significant contribution to predict IQ. Otherwise, adjusted R square will not increase, right? So if there is a big difference between R square and adjusted R square, so you can imagine that there are some irrelevant variables into the model. So there should not be any much difference between R square and adjusted R square. So this completes your correlation and multiple regression, simple as well as multiple. So this completes the topic. I think this is enough for today. Any questions, please?
Is there any query you can ask?
Any
please?
query? Yes, please.
Thank you so much, sir, for this informative lecture.
Aradhana here. I'm just want to know that when we are finding out a simple regression, then you said see the value of R. And when we are going with the multiple regression, you said we have to see R square. So can you differentiate what is the difference between R and R square?
Yeah, obviously, because you see Karl-Pearson correlation coefficient is computed for two variables. I have already given you, and correlation can lie between -1 to +1, right? We are not looking at R square in Karl-Pearson correlation coefficient. So simple regression is also involving two variables, y and x. So its value will lie between -1 and 1. So we'll just look at simple R, because it could be negative, it could be positive also. But whenever we are looking at the multiple regression, it's a relationship of y with set of variables, x1, x2, xk. There are k different variables, and we look at R square. Now it is square. Square can never be negative. Square can, so its value lie between 0 and 1. That's why whenever there is a multiple regression problem, we look at R square. When there are only two variables, dependent and one independent, we look at R. That is the reason.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. It means multiple regression will never be goes into the negative.
Never.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Thank you so much, sir.
Any other question?
So there is a request, not the question. If you have the videos on the YouTube regarding the interpretation analysis of the t-test and ANOVA, please can you share with us?
Right now, I have to check actually. I don't know. But this correlation regression, I think the video which I have given supplied you, I think it is there. Most probably. Up to t-test it is there. But
Okay,
t-test is very simple. If you look at the this one, there is a compare means. So in compare means this is one sample t-test, independent t-test, pair test,
Yes.
one-way ANOVA, they are all there.
I applied this test, but there is a little bit confusion regarding the interpretations. So now I want to.
Which test? Independent t-test or what test?
Independent t-test, sir.
Okay, just give me 1 minute. I can answer your query. Just give me 1 minute. Just wait for a moment. Just ask the organizers if they have time, then I can answer. Otherwise, I'll stop. File, open, data. Let me open one file and show it to you.
You can solve the queries.
Okay, thank you. So this is SPSS and data for SPSS. You are saying t-test, huh? T-test. PQRST, t-test. Okay. So there should not be any confusion now. Let's say how to feed the data for this is independent t-test, right? Those who are not familiar, what is t-test? Please just forget about this. Whatever you have learned, that is enough for you. There are two types of groups actually. One is a PG group and another is UG group. Problem is like this. There is an industrialist. He wants to hire people for his company, right? And there are two types of groups. One is those who have done post-graduation and those who have done only undergraduation. So one idea stuck to his mind that if the IQ levels of PG and because if he is hiring people from UG group, he has to pay less salary. But if he is hiring people from the PG group, he has to pay more salary. So idea struck to his mind, why not to check their IQ levels, whether their IQs are same or not. It is a semi-skilled kind of work, right? Both UG and PG level people can work. So why not to check equality of their IQ levels? That is called independent t-test. Why independent? Because one sample is coming from PG, another is coming from UG. They are independent, right? Let's see. So what is his hypothesis? Hypothesis is that there is no significant difference between the IQ levels of PG and non-PG. Alternative is that there is a significant difference, right? So this is how you have to feed the data. Put the IQ levels of PG group, write them one in front of that, and later on you can go to the labels and change that one is PG. And similarly below write down IQ levels of UG and write down 222. That means it is UG. Change the label. This you know. Okay. So how to feed the data? Now let's make the statistics. Compare means independent t-test, test variable, and this is a group. You have only two groups. Define groups. Group number 1, group number 2. Continue, and in options you don't need to do anything, and that's it. You press OK, and if you press OK, you have the result. So it says this 27 people from PG, 67. These are their mean IQs. This is standard deviation, standard of mean. Now this is not important. Important is this table, this one. Now here you see this is a t value. There are two t values here. One t value, second t value. Now first t value, because what we are testing mean, that the mean IQ level of PG and UG are same. So mean is denoted by mu1 and mu2. So basically H0 is that mu1 is equal to mu2. Alternative mu1 is not equal to mu2, right? Now, but we are not testing about variance. These two populations may have the same variance or they can have the different variance. So first, before applying the t-test, it is checking the assumption of variance, whether the variances are same of the two populations. So this value, it says it is tested by using f-test, equality of variances. And now this value is coming out to be non-significant. If this is non-significant, because this value is more than 0.05, so you must look at the first t value. But suppose this would have been significant. Suppose this is less than this, then you look at the second t value. That is the only thing. So it says the t value is 3 point this because it is non-significant. So we'll look at that there are equal variances, and it says that there is a significant difference between PG and non-PG because p value is less than 0.05. So there is a significant difference between UG and PG. Now question is which one is better, whether PG is better or UG is better. You look at the mean. The mean of PG is 95. The mean of UG is 79. So his claim, he was thinking that UG and PG they are same, is not true. Number two, he cannot hire people from UG. He has to hire people only from PG group. So this is called independent t-test. Yes, please. Is this clear?
Thank you so much, sir. Very nice, sir.
Any other question? Any other question?
Just related to ANOVA interpretation.
Sir, can you explain once more adjusted R square, please?
Adjusted R square. Okay, adjusted R square and R square. Okay. Let's say I'll give you a very simple example.
I missed out that, so that's why I'm asking again.
Okay. See, there were six independent variables that you know or not?
I know, sir, I know.
Yeah, in prediction of IQ, there were 6 independent variables. Suppose I include the 7th one also, 8th one also, 9th one also, 10th one also. I include 4 more. Value of R square will always increase. Value of R square will always increase. But adjusted R square will only increase if your additional independent variable, which you have included, is making a significant contribution to predict IQ. If it is not making it is non-significant, the value of R square will increase, but adjusted R square will not increase. What is the idea? If there is a big difference between R square and adjusted R square, that means there are some irrelevant variables into the model. You can think this problem like this. To understand the difference between R square and adjusted R square, suppose there is a very heavy box, right? And four people are carrying out that box, carry that box, 2 on the front and 2 on the back, right? Now they are sharing some load. So sharing some load means some R square they are sharing basically. Now the one of their friend has also joined in the middle. So what will happen? He will also share something, right? So value of R square sharing will increase, right? Sharing will increase. They will be having less workload if it is divided into 5. Or R square will increase. Sharing means R square will increase. Let's say 6th person has again joined. Now there are 2 in the front, 2 in the middle, and 2 on the back, right? So R square will further increase because something will be shared by the 6th one also, right? Now 6 are already working. Now another 7th one has joined, and he was looking at that 6 are already there. To show his presence, he just put a finger. He is not putting his hand even, he put a finger, right? Now when putting finger, maybe 10 or 20 gram will be shared. So R square will go marginally increase, but adjusted R square will not increase because it is not making a significant contribution. If you would have shared, let's say 15-20 kg, then it would have made a significant contribution. So R square will go on increasing, but not adjusted R square. So if you even join 10 more people, they are just putting their fingers, they are not making significant contribution. So there will be 10 irrelevant variables which are not making any significant contribution. So there will be a big difference in that case between R square and adjusted R square. That is the interpretation of R square. And
thank you so much, sir, for a nice presentation. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay. Any other question?
Any other query,
please? Of ANOVA, if you are ready to deliver on that.
Ask the organizers, please, because I have everything. I can discuss everything,
sir,
including factor analysis. I think what I'll suggest that I am conducting another workshop on 19th and 20th.
3-4 days का होना चाहिए था, so that
yes,
we
yes,
can understand it more.
But
actually
मैडम ने ऑलरेडी, मेरी बात सुनिए, मैडम ने ऑलरेडी कमिटमेंट किया है कि आपका जो एक सेकंड वर्कशॉप और कराएंगी वो सम एडवांस लेवल अनोवा, 1 वे अनोवा, 2 वे अनोवा, देन एनकोवा एटसेट्रा, वो सारा कुछ कराएंगे. वो आप मैडम से एक बार बात कर लीजिए.
हाँ सर, मैं भी यही बोल रही थी कि हम रिसेंटली
बाकी लोगों का टाइम भी इम्पोर्टेंट है.
हाँ जी सर, मैं भी यही बोल रही थी कि हम विद इन 2 months कोशिश करेंगे कि इसके बारे में दोबारा एक और वर्कशॉप ऑर्गेनाइज करें जो इससे नेक्स्ट होगा. ठीक है, जितना हमने आज किया उससे आगे होगा वो.
बिल्कुल.
हाँ जी
जी. और कोई क्वेश्चन? वैसे
थैंक यू सो मच सर.
या तो अभी खत्म करें मैडम?
एक्सक्यूज मी सर.
सर, वन क्वेरी इज देयर, आई थिंक सो.
सर, आपकी कोई अपकमिंग और भी वर्कशॉप्स हैं जिनके बारे में हमें पता चल सकता है?
यस. मैंने आपको एक 19th and 20th का भेजा है ना मैडम आपको?
हाँ, मेरे पास नहीं आया सर.
आपके पास अभी भेज रहा हूँ.
हाँ जी, आप मुझे भेज दो सर, मैं उस ग्रुप में सेंड कर दूंगा.
आपको ना मैं 19th और 20th को मैं एक फुल आपको वर्कशॉप करा रहा हूँ DIT यूनिवर्सिटी में. DIT है देहरादून यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी. आप उसको ज्वाइन कर सकते हैं. वहाँ पे ब्राउचर पे एक नंबर है डॉक्टर नितिन का. ही इज माय स्टूडेंट ओनली. मेरा स्टूडेंट मतलब कि वो मैंने उसको थोड़ा गाइडेंस दिया है. एज सच मेरा स्टूडेंट पंजाब यूनिवर्सिटी का नहीं है, बट ही इज प्लेस्ड इन DIT. उसने एक वर्कशॉप रखवाई है SPSS पे. उसमें आपको सारा 1 वे, 2 वे नोवा, कोरिलेशन रिग्रेशन, मल्टीपल रिग्रेशन, उसके बाद फैक्टर एनालिसिस, डिस्क्रिमिनेंट एनालिसिस, क्लस्टर एनालिसिस, सब कुछ है. तो आप 19th and 20th को ज्वाइन कर सकते हैं. Today is 16th. You just give my reference. He may be able to enroll you still, right? I don't know what is their capacity.
It's been a very nice experience to hear you.
Thank you.
Really, sir.
And अभी मैं आपको भेज रहा हूँ. Let me just see where it is. Just give me a minute. और कोई क्वेश्चन है तो मैडम देखिए. इन द मीन टाइम में निकालता हूँ उसको कहाँ पड़ा है.
Is there any query please? और कोई क्वेरी है किसी की?
देखिए मैंने पास एक आपको भेज दिया है मैंने. उस पे STUS 2021 ब्राउचर लिखा हुआ है कुछ ऐसा.
हाँ जी सर, मिल गया सर मुझे. मैं
आप
अभी
इनको भेज दीजिए. ये DIT यूनिवर्सिटी में मैं अभी 19 और 20 को करा रहा हूँ, जिसमें काफी एडवांस टेक्निक्स भी हैं.
फाइन सर. सर मैंने शेयर कर दिया ग्रुप में.
ठीक है. तो आप जिनकी क्वेरीज क्वेश्चन है ना वो आप अटेंड कर सकते हैं.
Yes. Yes, ma'am. I received in the group. Thank you so much.
Okay, ma'am. Any other query?
I'm not in the group as I'm not a registered candidate. Sir, ma'am, kindly share with me also.
आप इनको फोन नंबर दे दीजिए अपना.
तो हाँ, write down my phone number and just say hello to me on WhatsApp. Write down please 720.
Wait for a while, ma'am.
मैं चैट बॉक्स में अपना फोन नंबर शेयर लिख देती हूँ मैम,
हाँ,
आप उस पे मुझे
जी।
just हेलो कर देना।
और नरेश सिंह हैं, एक कुछ
हाँ
क्वेश्चन
जी।
पूछना चाहते हैं।
हाँ जी।
उनको जरा
हाँ,
अनम्यूट करिए।
हाँ शर्मा जी, DIT का देहरादून में कब कर रहे हैं, ऑर्गेनाइज कर रहे हैं सर?
19 and 20th,
अच्छा
अभी इसी महीने 19 और 20 को।
अच्छा, इन दिस मंथ, ओके।
हाँ जी, हाँ जी।
Okay, sir, I will be in touch with you. I have got your mobile number.
Okay, great. Yeah.
Thanks, sir. Thanks a lot.
Any other query?
Ma'am, is this your number 7206
Yes, yes, ma'am.
441505?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
yes.
Okay, okay.
Fine. It's my WhatsApp number, ma'am. Just send me a hello on this. I'll send you all the things which you require.
Sure, ma'am.
Fine.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Any other query, please?
चलिए मैडम एक
हाँ जी, sir.
Can we contact you in future for further query?
To
yes,
sir
yes,
or
you
to-
can.
contact any.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah. चलिए
Sir, on behalf of everyone present here in the workshop and on behalf of IBPG College Panipat, I really thank you for sparing valuable time and sharing your deep knowledge with us. The topic was very interesting and you presented everything in such a way that everyone could understand. Your delivery was so engaging that we all lost track of time. We don't remember what is the time, but we all are enjoying this lecture. You also made this lecture quite interactive, and I could feel that all the participants were really enjoying this lecture. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for everything. Thank you for your
डॉक्टर
support.
अपना
हाँ जी।
इससे पहले कि आप खत्म करें,
नहीं
एक
सर,
मैं
मैं
शेर
खत्म
सुनाना
नहीं
चाहता हूँ।
करूंगी।
नहीं, मैं
अच्छा,
क्या
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल
पार्टिसिपेंट्स
बिल्कुल सर।
शेर सुनाना चाहता हूँ।
बिल्कुल सर, बिल्कुल।
पार्टिसिपेंट्स इफ दे अलाउ मी।
Sir, we are
कि
waiting.
अच्छा, हाँ, एक शेर सुनिए चलिए कि खूबसूरत सा एक पल किस्सा बन जाता है, ना जाने कौन कहाँ जिंदगी का हिस्सा बन जाता है। कुछ खास लोग, यानी कि आपकी तरह कुछ खास लोग मिलते हैं जिंदगी में इस तरह, जिनसे ना कभी बिछड़ने वाला रिश्ता बन जाता है।
थैंक यू वेरी मच सर।
जी।
Sir, I would also like to thank our governing body of our college for their overwhelming support and motivation, and special thanks to our principal sir, standing as a pillar of strength with us. I also like to thank all the participants for attending this workshop, and without your participation, this event would not have been successful. From the bottom of my heart, I also thank my colleagues, Kanak and Madhvi, who supported me fully to organize this function. And thank you everyone. Thanks a lot.
जाते जाते एक और शेर सुना दूं?
बिल्कुल सर, बिल्कुल।
लीजिए,
सर,
पार्टिसिपेंट्स के
मुझे
लिए
तो
एक
आज
और
वो
शेर
टाइम
है।
भी याद आ रहा है जब मैं क्लास में आपसे पढ़ी हूँ।
अच्छा।
मतलब आई रिमेम्बर दैट टाइम। हम लोग आपसे पढ़े हैं तो मुझे वो चीज याद आ रही है कि मैं दोबारा आपसे आज पढ़ी हूँ कुछ।
चलिए, अच्छी बात है।
हाँ जी।
चलिए, ये पार्टिसिपेंट्स के लिए है, क्योंकि आपसे तो मुलाकात कहीं ना कहीं कभी ना कभी होती रहेगी, तो उसी पे ऊपर हमने एक शेर लिखा था कि सितारों को आंखों में महफूज रख लो। सितारों को, महफूज का मतलब होता है संभाल के रख लो। उर्दू का शब्द है कि सितारों को आंखों में महफूज रख लो, बहुत दूर तक रात ही रात होगी। मुसाफिर हो तुम भी, मुसाफिर हैं हम भी, कभी ना कभी कहीं ना कहीं किसी मोड़ पे फिर आपसे मुलाकात होगी। थैंक यू
सर, थैंक यू वेरी मच।
ओके, ऑल द बेस्ट।
so much,
आप
sir.
कुछ कहना चाह रहे हैं? नरेश
जी।
सर वांट्स टू से समथिंग, आई
या
थिंक।
नरेश जी बोलिए। नरेश जी बोलिए, आप अपने को अनम्यूट करिए।
हाँ सर, मैं कुछ नहीं, मैं सॉरी, मैं उसको लोअर नहीं करा था हाथ मैंने यही पूछा था। थैंक्स अ लॉट सर। मेरी लॉज भी चंडीगढ़ में ही रहते हैं, मैं बचपन चंडीगढ़ में। कौन से सेक्टर में रहते हैं?
हम लोग यूनिवर्सिटी में रहते हैं, यूनिवर्सिटी के अंदर ही।
अच्छा, फिर लॉन्ग वर्क मैंने स्टैटिस्टिक्स में डिप्लोमा किया है।
हाँ, अच्छा, वेरी गुड। चलो, अच्छी बात है। आप कभी भी आइए डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ स्टैटिस्टिक्स में। आई विल बी देयर ओनली। आई एम देयर ओनली।
ओके सर, ओके, थैंक्स सर।
थैंक यू वेरी मच सर, थैंक्स अ लॉट
जी। ऑल राइट, ओके, बाय।
All the participants are requested to please fill the feedback form, as we have already shared the link with you in the group as well as in chat box. So please fill the form, feedback form. Fine. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Arpana ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.